Allow me, like my predecessors, to thank the organizers of this conference for giving me the opportunity to share with you some research that I've been involved in for the last 20 or 25 years. Most of that research has been done here in London, where the resources are quite abundant, but even the more interesting part of the research has been in India, in the various districts from whence we came. I've spent many a summer going through these villages and picking up what I think is useful information for the geography of the Indian diaspora. And today, this morning, we had a very good presentation by Richard, who gave us a context for that larger geography, which I will therefore avoid, particularly as he spoke about agency and careering. Who transferred these things from India to the diasporic area? Who transferred these objects and who were the people? And I would like to tell him that I have very clear evidence that people from Mauritius, indentured laborers, I call them gilmitias. Gilmitia means one who signs a contract. These gilmitias had served in Mauritius from 1834 when indentureship started there, and a number of them came to the Caribbean. So that is just to talk about the authenticity of his own work. And then just in the last session, Betty Govinden gave us a very good lecture where she talks about the objects that were transferred from India to Mauritius. And she made a very important point, which I want to mention, that these were just not physical objects. Every one of these things, the physical objects as well as the plants and animals, was symbolic. They were sacralized. They had a very religious context. And it reminded me of a mantra which I hear when I'm in my own village of Bahrain, or I hear in Guyana, or I hear in Trinidad. A mantra that directs the Hindu to worship these things. It comes from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says to Arjuna, "My Lord, how should I worship? What kinds of things should I give?" And he says, "Patram pushpam phalam thoyam yo me bhaktya prayachati." Patram is a leaf, pushpam a flower, phalam a fruit, thoyam water. Patram pushpam phalam thoyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. And then the Sanskritic mantra goes on to say that you can offer any one of these things. Don't offer any animals or living things. All I want is that you bring these things with a contrite heart. So that all of these objects that were brought from India to any part of the diaspora was sacralized, far more valuable than their physical manifestation might indicate. I want to begin by reading just one paragraph from a Scottish-American traveler who came to Trinidad in 1886, and this is what he says. "In the midst of this coolie district, there is an open space, an acre or two in extent, densely shaded by a very ancient, far-spreading banyan tree brought from India to the Caribbean, under the branches of which the coolie people, they would hold their market under the banyan tree because the banyan is sacred in Indian mythology. It would be impossible to imagine a scene more unlike that I have ever beheld in my travels in America or Europe. The people, their wares, their manner of trading, their baskets, trays, tables, their manner, voices, gestures, all were strange and outlandish. For the Hindus lose but little of their national characteristics in the New World. As I passed through the crowd, the sellers saluted respectfully, bowing as they said, 'Salam Sahib,' then eagerly but without clamor or violent gestures, besought me to purchase queer-looking eatables, utensils, ornaments, fabrics, in a word, all sorts of merchandise. There were vendors of curry and curry powder, purveyors of all kinds of food preserved in curry. Curry to be taken away or to be eaten then. And then there were packages, boxes, bottles of it, jars, pots, cups, bags, coconut shells full of curry. And everything living or inanimate in the marketplace was as distinctly East Indian as the curry itself, save and excepting a few Africans, Chinese and Europeans and their chattels and belongings. And I could tell him that if you went to the border market in Guyana or to the vegetable market in Paramaribo, he would see the same kind of transference of India to the Caribbean. After the end of indentureship, European traders created a new triangular trade, which replaced the old triangular routes from Europe to Africa and to the Caribbean, whereby millions of people and a wide variety of flora were brought to the Caribbean from Africa. After the shifting of this trade in bodies, which established Africa in the Caribbean, the new nexus introduced India to the Caribbean and similarly altered the ethnic composition, cultural expressions and physical character of an area which Columbus had erroneously called West India in his futile search for a route to the east. Columbus left Spain and he didn't know where he was going, and when he reached where he had landed, he didn't know where he had arrived. So he called the place West India. That's how the place became to be called West Indies. So that Columbus's error was now being rectified many centuries later on as the real Indians were moving to the Caribbean. Now, most of the Indians who came to the diasporic plantations understood that they were going to do agricultural work. A number of the people in India told me of their ancestors being told that they are not going to Trinidad, they are going to Chinidad, Chini meaning India, the land of sugar. And all you've got to do is just to pick up the sugar. Others told the Arkatia, that is the recruiter who is recruiting people to go to Mauritius, didn't tell them to go to Mauritius. It's Milch Desh, land of pepper. And we all know how Indians love pepper. So the Indian in India say, how quickly can you carry me to Milch Desh, the land of peppers? So they had an idea that they were going to places that in which agricultural labor was expected. And they all brought with them on their shoulder the Jahaji Bundle. Those are Sanskrit words. Bundle is a Sanskritic word out of which we get the English word bundle. So they brought the Jahaji Bundle. And in the Caribbean, as we lose the meanings of these words, we tell someone we don't like, take your Georgie bundle and go. We say Georgie bundle, but it's because we've lost the Jahaji Bundle. So what is this Jahaji Bundle? It is a very large three-cornered rumal. What's rumal? Handkerchief. A very large three-cornered handkerchief. It's very big. I've seen remnants of it in the villages in India, which people had prepared to go onto the ship, but it didn't, so it remains a very large three-cornered handkerchief, quite big. It could hold a good deal of a good many things. And you tied this Jahaji Bundle to a lati, a stick. So on the top you made a knot and you put it, and that's how they came onto the ship. Africans could not. Africans came just as I am, without one plea, just as their clothes. Indians were allowed to walk onto the ship with this Jahaji Bundle from 1838 right down to 1917. And what did this Jahaji Bundle contain? A remarkable, an amazing array of things which I will talk about. For the Muslims, the Shivaji Bundle always had a copy of the Holy Quran. That was there in, I would say, 70 or 80% of the Muslim Shivaji Bundle. And the Hindus would bring, most often they would bring the Tulsi Ramayana, which has become, in fact, the most used religious text in the Caribbean. The Tulsi Ramayana, some of them brought the Bhagavad Gita, from which I have just quoted, but most of it was the Tulsi Ramayana. Equally important was an amazing array of seeds, fruits, cuttings, and herbs, which certainly changed the geography of the Caribbean. And when you get the paper, you will see the very long list of these seeds and cuttings and fruits that they brought. I'll just read you a few. The list of items of flora which fitted into this Shivaji Bundle is long and impressive. Among these were mango, amrud, guavas, anar, pomegranate, string bean, bodhi, Guyana they say bora, Indian drumsticks, saijan, you have so much of it in Guyana, saijan, which is now being popularized as moringa, a health food. Pumpkins, I'm giving you the English and the Hindi words. It's called kora, kadu, marijuana. I don't forgive you. All right. Datura, a wide variety of chawal, rice, sapodilla, chiku, betel nut, supari, which is very essential in any Indian ceremony. Turmeric, haldi, bitter gourd, karaili, ginger, adhra, curry plant, karapili, cinnamon, dalchini, mustard, sarson. You know, you take sarson ka tail, you take sarson ka bhaji. Long, good, lauki, black pepper, kali mirch, onion, piyaj, cumin, which is jeera, fennel, saunf, fenugreek. As an English word, the Hindi word is mighty. Cloves, long, as well as the seeds of ashoka, bael, neem, which of course is being so widely used now, and lotus, which is kumul. In the Shivaji Bundle, they brought a wide range of spinach, different kinds of bhaji, seeds, the bhaji seeds, as well as a full panoply of Indian lentils, which you call dal. So many different kinds of dal they brought to the Caribbean. Some of the seeds like guava and citrus had been brought to the region before the arrival of the Indians, but India now supplied new varieties which improved the native stock. Whilst there was this informal transfer of flora via the Shivaji Bundle, there was a transfer of fauna, that is animals, through other means. And the agency for the transfer of a good deal of this fauna were the botanical gardens of Kew, and they've got some very, very good records of these things. In 1765, the colonial administration established the St. Vincent Botanic Gardens to facilitate the movement of plants to the Caribbean, and out of that early beginning in St. Vincent, it moved to the rest of the Caribbean. Mango was, different kinds of mango seeds were brought in the Shivaji Bundle, but it was brought as a part of trading. In 1782, for example, a shipment of Indian mangoes from Mauritius, destined for the French West Indies, was captured by the British. See how valuable it was. So you captured other people's fruits. It was captured by the British, and the plants were sent to Jamaica, from whence it made its way to other colonies in the Caribbean. In other trading arrangements, Indian plants were introduced. For example, the jackfruit, which the Indians call koa, a big pandanus fruit, was imported, as was black pepper, Piper nigrum, brought from Travancore and Malabar in South India to the Caribbean. In 1806, 2 nutmeg plants were brought from India to Trinidad, and these were sent to St. Vincent, where they were successfully cultivated. In 1820, mature plants were sent back to Trinidad, and they were cultivated in the Northern Range, and from Trinidad it went to Grenada, and that has become an industry in Grenada. Nutmeg oil mace, and those other nutmeg products. Similarly, through inter-botanical garden transfers, the hibiscus was brought to the Caribbean from India, becoming as prolific as the mango, a constant sight in all Caribbean countries, used for daily worship. I'm talking about the hibiscus, used as a toothbrush in the villages, as fodder for animals, and for the creation of pretty hedges and flower gardens. So now I want to talk a little bit about animals from India. Animals for India were very important for the promotion of the sugar in the Caribbean. Initially, on the Caribbean estates throughout the period of slavery and even into indentureship, they were using mules and donkeys. But these mules and donkeys found traction on the clay soils of the Caribbean very difficult. When one is reading in the time of slavery, some of the mules, their feet would get stuck and it would be broken and they had to be destroyed. The Indians provided a solution to this problem by the indentured workers encouraging the plantation owners to bring animals that we have in India and do very good work. The most important being the zebu. The zebu animal, zebu cattle, which, as you know, has a very big hump at the back. So if it doesn't have water for a long time, it survives. So the zebu animals were brought to the Caribbean, which replaced the mules and the donkeys on the plantations. You can say whether they were then tractors. And then September 1897, the governor of Trinidad wanted the zebu animals as well as the smaller hardy cattle called Sinhalese cattle, known in India as the poor man's beast. These animals, the governor added, would fatten easily on our grasses, which are superior to those of Ceylon. So that was another animal. We're talking about the big zebu, which worked on the estate, as well as these Sinhalese animals. But then after a time, as these animals began to interbreed and so on, and the stock became weakened, the Indians told the plantation owners, we have something else, we've got something else that will replace the zebu, and that is the paisa, the Indian water buffalo. And that had been used in India for 5,000 years before. The Indian buffalo, so that from 1905, Caribbean colonies started importing a number of, I have the list here, 8 breeds of water buffalo that were brought to the Caribbean, and these were even tougher. These were even tougher than the Sinhalese cattle or the zebu animals, and these throw very well. In fact, quite often replacing the zebu cattle on the plantations, the Indian buffalo, they call it paisa, which now replace the zebu animals, and you could use this for haulage. It's a good beef animal, a very good milking animal. In India, if you are a student in India, most of the Indian cheeses are made out of Brinsley to Indian buffalo milk. And what was important, what I think is absolutely remarkable, is that scientists in Trinidad from the 1970s were able to, through genetic engineering, to bring together the best qualities of all of these 8 breeds that came from India. In fact, it's one of my colleagues at the university, Professor Bennett, who was doing it, and he was telling me continuously during the time that he was doing it, So that in Trinidad there was created an animal that had the best characteristics of all of these Indian hinds that had been brought. And that animal, because it was made in the land of the Calypso, it's called the Buffalipso. Today there are large herds of Buffalipso. This excellent, this hardy animal that can be used for so many purposes in Colombia, in Venezuela, in Mexico, in Florida, in Italy. When you put your mozzarella cheese on your pizza, that is Buffalipso cheese. That's it. Mozzarella is made out of Buffalipso milk. So that you know, to my mind has been one of the really significant contributions of India to the Caribbean, the Bhainsa, which, as I said, replaced the Zebu animal, which had replaced the much weaker horses and mules and so on. And now that has become world famous. The only place that it has not really developed to its fullest extent is the country called Trinidad and Tobago, where you have a large Buffalipso herd of 1,500 animals, but they're totally neglected, very sadly, very unfortunately, but the breed has become worldwide. And as I said, Italy has one of the biggest Buffalipso herds in the world. But that is not all. On the plantations, there were very serious problems. Let's say of snakes on the plantation, and in this regard, the mongoose was brought to Jamaica in 1860, Barbados 1870, St. Lucia in 1885, and from these islands the mongoose was exported southwards to Guyana and to Trinidad and northwards into Cuba and Santo Domingo. And the mongoose played a very important role in making the plantation safe for laborers. Today, of course, it is a pest. It is a pest. You want to kill it because it just eats your chicken. They've killed out the snakes. And now they are going to the
Kentucky.
Yes. Goats. A special variety of Indian goat called Anglo-Nubian was brought. Now, most of these goats were brought on the ship as part of the food for the coolies. But Muslims had no problem eating goat, and there were some adventurous Hindus also who wanted to eat goats. But so you had quite a number of these goats on the ships. But because Indians are mainly vegetarian, by the time the ships reached the Caribbean, there might have been a dozen or so, and the planters didn't eat them, they put them on the estate. So goats proliferated the Caribbean. These particular brands of Indian goats that were brought, and then there were also murgi and murga, fowls,
chicken,
poultry that was brought for food on the ship. But happily, when they came to the Caribbean, they were not devoured right there. They were sent because they understood the good quality of the fauna that was being brought from India. So that these are some of the flora and fauna. I have in the paper spoken at length about the ways in which the Indians changed the physical environment, changing the canescape, that drab canescape, where you had miles and miles of just sugarcane. The Indians created villages as oases all over the plantation. They're breaking the monotony of that dull and drab canescape. Motivated as they were by Dharti Mata, Earth as mother, earth as mother. So you didn't desecrate the earth. You tried your best to preserve it, because that's your mother. Dharti Mata, Dharti Mai, Gai Mata, which is a cow, which is why they kept the animals. And so they created villages like oases, giving some life and color to the drab scape, often giving ancestral names to these places. The Indians, particularly in Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad, reclaimed hundreds of thousands of acres of land that the planters, the imperialists tell them you could take that as a useless land. That is useless land. But these people grew up, and if you go to our ancestral places in Bihar and UP, it's a lot of swamp, So to put an Indian to swamp, jail, put them to swamp and tell them take that useless land, like putting ducks to water. It's like they converted these so-called useless land, giving it names from India: Faizabad, Barakpur, Calcutta Settlement, Madras, Malabar, Coromandel, Chandabnagar, a nice name where the moon always shines, and Kuliwood. That was, a place also. Right, so I think I'd end here, and perhaps we can raise some